Seasonal anime has started to feel kinda boring. You scroll through the latest lineup and it's either the 500th isekai with swapped character roles or another pastel coloured rom-com where all the characters look like they were built with the randomizer button in The Sims. Sure, once in a while something absolutely amazing drops, but these are far and few in between. Most anime nowadays just feels all the same. Now, as of late, I've found myself skipping new releases entirely and digging through older shows from the 2010s. But that begs the question, why are we so drawn to this era of anime? Why am I especially drawn to it? They often say nostalgia is a blessing in disguise. But is it really nostalgia that makes us love animes from a decade ago? I can actually pinpoint a moment when I started getting put off new shows. Recently, I had been watching Summer Pockets, Studio Key's newest visual novel adaptation. Now, whilst the anime was faithful to the source material, I felt like something was missing from it. I don't know if it was the overly bright colours or the fact they tried to mimic the 2010s art style, but it almost felt soulless in a way. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like this anime, but something just didn't feel right when I was watching it. Eventually, I just stopped watching it entirely and got on with my life. Now, compare that to when I recently picked up Black Butler, which released all the way back in 2008. I had heard of the series for years and only just sat down to watch it. And holy crap, was it a different experience entirely. My eyes were actively glued to the screen, and I don't even like boys love anime. I think I ended up spending over 5 hours just binging the anime, and that's something I haven't done in ages. Now, if I asked you to name some series that you thought were significant or really good from the 2010s, chances are you'd be able to name at least a dozen or so. Now, if I asked you the same question, but this time to do with 2020s anime, you could probably only name a few animes. So, why is that? Sup guys, it's Found, and I'm going to be talking about why 2010s anime hit different, or whatever I end up naming this vid. Now, it's no secret that a lot of anime recently has been following a somewhat art devolution. We've been noticing tons of shows using the same pastel colours, small eyes, big tits style, which honestly gets boring to look at after a while. Now, whilst there's fairly new animes that are able to make the style look unique, most animes can blend in and all the characters just start looking the same. Meanwhile, in the 2010s, on the other hand, we had big eyes, small eyes, more realistic art style. Anime was going through a transitional period in the 2010s. TVs were moving from 4:3 to widescreen, and studios had incentives to make their animes pop on the screen. Studios started experimenting more. Art direction became part of the storytelling, not just an afterthought. And if we're talking art variety, Kyoto Animation was, and still is, the GOAT. Now, KyoAni honestly needs no introduction. You've definitely seen something they made, and if you haven't, then you've definitely seen a meme from a series they've made. They're basically the Studio Ghibli for shut-ins. Whether it was the warm look of Hayuka, the soft expressive animation in the silent voice, or the cute art style of Nichijou, KyoAni was doing things visually that nobody else in the slice of life genre was. Every character felt handcrafted, every frame had soul. Considering they went from this to this in under 10 years, shows the lengths that this studio went to make their animes look beautiful, make their animes stand out in a sea of shows that were also copy-pasty at the time. Each series felt special, and I don't really get that same feeling with most shows today. In fact, the only show that I really get that with is Umineko. I remember watching this anime when it first came out, and just being mesmerized by the visuals. Whilst yes, it does use the pastel color template that I've come to hate, but it does it differently. Instead of recreating the characters from the manga with the same generic art style like they could have done, they decided to replicate the manga art to a T. And if you've seen the manga art, it's simply stunning to look at. Just compare a frame from Umineko to a random rom-com that came out around the same period. Tell me which one has more character. I remember legitimately having an argument with one of my old online friends about this. He hated the art style for some reason, and I couldn't figure out why. However, with that said, Umineko doesn't even compare to Frieren. Now, I'm not going to bore you with why I absolutely love how Frieren looks or why it's good, because let's be real, everyone online has already done that. But the art style of Frieren is special. When I first watched Frieren, it was something else. I originally thought from the cover art that it was going to be another copy-pasty art style sort of thing. But instead, I got something on par with the likes of 90s Disney animation. Like Umineko, you can tell that each frame had passion put into it. The character designs as well are simply iconic. Like, if I merely gave you the silhouettes of the main trio, you'd immediately be able to identify them. It's honestly sad that we're seeing less and less anime recently which have a sense of soul to them, that memorability. Most shows nowadays simply feel like slop. Actually, speaking of slop, If you look at most streaming services today, you'll probably find at least a handful of anime on there. Now, this was practically alien a couple years back when the only real options you had were dodgy websites that totally didn't mind Bitcoin on your PC, or Crunchyroll/Funimation. However, with the advent of there's been a boom in people using services such as Netflix and still Crunchyroll, and with that came a demand for more anime. Now you might be asking, but isn't this a good thing? You'd think. If you look at the tab for fall 2025 on my anime list, at least half the shows are either continuations of successful series from the 2010s or the slop. Like, what even is this? Is this an anime title or the instructions for Parasite? Oh, that's why. Nowadays, it feels like more studios are either making slop anime just to either hope that the absurd title will gather enough views or clicks, or the plot will allow it to get mad popular for at least a month or two, and then eventually die when no new season is released, or the mangaka goes on hiatus. And whilst you could argue that even in the 2010s, we had isekai slop clogging up the seasonal tab, there were at least a few isekai animes which actually ended up being good. Please bring back Konosuba, I beg you, Studio D. Some might argue streaming is a factor in what's going to eventually kill anime, whereas I disagree. Anime isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's as popular as it will ever be. But streaming services are a factor in why anime as a whole recently is becoming really sloppy. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I want more shows like Oshinoko and Free Ren, and less shows like Spy Classroom. Anyways, that was my take. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll try to read all of them. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I hope you have a nice day. Peace.